Hello, welcome. We are going to react, review, watch the videos from Abelhawk and DesignerDave. Essentially the follow-ups to the original developer questionnaire, Ask Me Anything, that you saw a while back on my channel. So we're going to watch part 3 and then part 4. So part 3 starts off with, what are some fun memories of working at Blizzard? Well, we'll find out, won't we? DesignerDave. Let's get the volume right. How's that? Is that all right?
Welcome back. We are on the third and fourth iteration of the Ask Dave Anything Warcraft AMA that has been 20 years in the making. I've picked another
a little louder
something questions, and there were a couple mistakes in the last one that I wanted to address before we continued on. So let's just jump into those mistakes right away. So one of the questions that I messed up, can you please show us where exactly the secret units locations are on the screen during Thrall's Vision cinematic? It is said that there's a Hydralisk somewhere in there.
I guess it was the north bit.
Secret units, but I personally
the little island with the pirates.
It's been pointed out to me, and now I see it too. So this is Thrall's cinematic vision. What I want you to do
I keep thinking of the level
here in the lower right. Now keep in mind that at the time that this was made, the compression on the video was even more severe than this. But you can see the head of the Hydralisk here, and if you continue on, it becomes somewhat clear that that's his left or right claw. And you just... Yeah, that's definitely a Hydralisk. You can tell by the long cone-shaped head.
I mean, at the moment, I just sort of see a Tauren wood weapon, you know, that they use to pulverize with. I don't know what exactly you call them, but that's what I see. Totem.
There's like some...
We did have a look at this, though, when he mentioned it last time, and I'm sure I thought I saw a Hydra. I can't remember which part it was, though.
Shininess on it. That's it. That's where it was.
Nah, mate. Yeah, I don't think so. Should I go back? Hang on a second. React. Although, which one was it? He might explain a bit more if I go further into the video, so I should probably let him do that first.
This is at 2 minutes and 3 seconds into the video, and it blasts by in like a few seconds. But once you're looking for it, I think it becomes a lot more obvious, and you can sort of see the body of it there, and it's inching along like a worm. So there it is. The Hydra.
I'm not so sure myself, Mr. Dave. I'll scroll through this and see if it shows the cinematic.
Soldier dude, whose only line whenever he attacks is "Foul beast, foul beast."
Foul beast.
You could have at least given that guy 2 lines, but I think he's the only one who has like...
Someone called me out for that, saying that he doesn't have any voice lines. I was referring to his attack line. He only has like 1 attack line, which is foul beast.
This is going to be loud.
Abelhawk did a video with a different Hydralisk. Did he now, Flynn? Does that answer it though?
Knowing that, thing to you. But they're making a big song on
Hydralisk. But
the search for the Hydralisk.
Hydralisk. This looks like a rock. It's like that kind of orangey color.
That's what I thought was the Hydralisk.
Orangey color here. Like a kind of...
It looks like that kind of Z shape. If you look carefully, follow the outline of my cursor as I go around it. It's like a kind of Z shape. That's where I think the Hydra is. It seems to have a distinctly different color to everything else around. This kind of orange, which is the same orange color that they have in the Warcraft 3 one. That's where I think the Hydra is.
Snake Z. It's kind of small though.
But it's hard to tell, isn't it, really, let's face it. What's a Hydra these days?
Hydralisk in Thrall's Vision cinematic.
9 seconds. Oh, we got another one, have we? I think, yeah, it might be. Because of the way it's doing that thing where it like moves forward and then sort of moves it back as it's still moving forward. If you look carefully, if you just look for the movement rather than actually try to spot it, yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, I see it clear as day. That bloody Hydra, though. So this bit.
Once you're looking at the video, and it blasts by in like a few seconds.
That could be like the behind.
3 seconds into the video. 2 minutes and 3 seconds into the video, and it blasts by in like a few seconds. But once you're looking for it, I think it becomes a lot more obvious, and you can sort of see the body of it there, and it's inching along like a worm. So there it is.
Right here.
The Hydralisk in Thrall's vision.
Sort of like on the left. So we're looking at the log, but I think he means this
properly.
here.
So now I can change that to a yes. Can you share some funny stories of working with Blizzard, whether with the devs or more iconic Blizzard personalities like Metzen and Samwise? Actually, the most interesting story about my time at Blizzard, and probably one of my happiest memories, was that me, Derek Simmons, Jason Hutchins, Mark Downey, Samwise Didier, and Chris Metzen would play Dungeons and Dragons together. Derek Simmons would be the dungeon master. He made his own system called Avarice, which I don't know if he shipped it. I don't think he's ever put it out there. I wish he would.
wonder if they ever
Derek,
played Hero Quest.
I'll help you ship Avarice.
Hero Quest was awesome.
It's time to unleash your stuff on the world. So we would play Dungeons and Dragons together, and we would go on many adventures, and I found this old document. So this is actually Jason Hutchins.
Yeah, that elf one looks really familiar.
He played the Templar.
That's like Warcraft 2 art, that
and
is.
This is a wanted poster put out by I forget what the organization was called, but Prime. I was like an illegal magic user. I was Kellen the Drow. And there's some little interesting anecdotes here. This was drawn by Samwise Didier.
Samwise loves Panda, doesn't he?
Played Mughal, the Hobgoblin. Moogle, we called him Moogle. And then Saradwin was Mark Downey's character. Arius was Jason Hutchins' character. And we would go on adventures together. Chris Metzen wasn't in the initial part of the campaign. He joined in the second campaign as Agranor the Half-Ogre. Unfortunately, I don't think Sam did art for him, but I think that Chris did his own art. I just don't have it. Jarvis the Panda is an NPC character. He was amusing. Played by Derek Simmons, I suppose you would say. But Derek ran the campaign. So there you go. I think that's a pretty amusing anecdote. Did you play games against other developers at Blizzard very often? Did you challenge each other in group matches? We played Warcraft 3 matches and StarCraft matches all the time. It was pretty much a daily occurrence. It was sort of like you had to do a daily match anyways, just to help with the balance changes. And so we were always playing games against each other. And that's how we found some balance issues here and there. I remember on one particular occasion during the Frozen Throne, the troll bat riders, were problematic in a match. And it was, I think, Tom Cadwell's first foray into balancing. And Frodo had told him that
Mass Bat Riders
when you
force
initially
of
balance a
balancing.
new unit, you want to balance it high, meaning that it's super good so that people will use it more in matches. But I think that's something for release of a game, not necessarily for balance testing internally, but he did it anyways. And I remember distinctly typing and hitting return on the line, balance the Bat Riders tard. So that might give you some sense of that I might have been a little bit vitriolic during certain points in development, particularly when
Everyone
I was
loves
tired
having their
or
base
doing
destroyed by Mass Bat
But
Riders.
towards the end of development, matches sort of went to the wayside because we were so busy making the campaign, so we couldn't participate in those. But like artists and programmers and stuff who were basically almost done at that point were more able to play matches, and so that's where most of the balance testing came from. In By Demons Be Driven, was it ever going to be a prerequisite to defeating Grom before being able to store him in the Pokeball? Don't you have to get him low? Let's look this
I
up.
think you do.
So we're going to go into By Demons Be Driven. What triggers do we make for capturing Grom? So let's see if it's obvious to find or difficult. So if Grom dies, he instant revives. What is the victory condition? See, these questions are hard to answer sometimes. Disable for cinematic.
I think you have to probably get him below 20% health or something.
Oh. This never worked, did it? No, it didn't. The handy dandy magic box item. Okay, sorry. Now I'm off track. But yeah, I made this magic vault trigger that was supposed to like do random stuff, like give you null overseers, just totally random. Like, but I never sort of figured it out. If someone wants to mess with that, feel free. But that's not what we're here for, right? You couldn't kill Grom. He would just instant revive. I don't think there ever was a phase where you didn't have to use the gem to capture him. So you can see from some certain triggers that maybe we were kind of stressed out during development and we're letting off steam by hiding things in the triggers. Probably do a whole series on stuff we hid in triggers. So you have to use the gem on him in the mission. Everything goes back to normal. It selects the units you had selected prior to. That's why we put all those units in the unit group at the start. That's actually one of those quality of life things that some people ignore. So set selected units equal units currently selected by player. So we know what you had selected when the cinematic started, and then we reselect them for you at the end. So it's like nothing happened.
Take it for granted. Cool. You don't even realize it.
Okay. No, I know why it works. In order to use the soul gem, it must have a target. And the only target for the soul gem is Grom. Let's verify. There you are. Item, Soul Theft. Traps the targeted enemy hero inside the soul gem when used. So because Grom was the only enemy hero on the map, the only one you could use the soul gem on was Grom. Well, I learned something. Did you guys learn something?
Do you remember that War Chasers map? Like it was an edited one.
So nope.
There was a enemy Crypt Lord hero,
it doesn't make sense to
and it would instantly use the soul gem that it had in its inventory.
What were you told about Strathholm?
On anyone that got close, and you permanently lose your hero.
It from scratch, and the lore was completely changed in WoW. Well, the culling, literally nothing. No one told me anything about Strathholm. I didn't know anything. All I knew was it's a human city and it's a big city. Those were basically the two prime directives I was given. So when I was designing the culling, I didn't know anything about the city, so I knew that we couldn't show like an entire city. So what I tried to do was give this grandiose sense of scope by having
it's almost got like a World of Warcraft
decent sized map,
Stormwind kind of feel to it.
Sort of carving out a section that breaks into the wilderness.
It's got sections,
forest, to sort of give the idea that this city is much, much, much larger than just this area. So this is like just one set of districts in what I try to give the impression is a much larger area, because all I really knew it was a big city. And then I tried to have like, you know, cool entranceway going into the first village area, a place to, I mean, this is so far off to the side that it's almost ridiculous, but like a city park. So I thought of it like a city. So a city would have a park, a city would have places to rest, a city would have bandits outside it, a city would have a graveyard. Did I put a graveyard somewhere? This was for the cinematic. So this is like a park area where people would go to sit and relax. So it's a very leisurely city. I guess I didn't have a graveyard. Well, I really should have. Maybe
there's your graveyard. The undead bit.
And I also had, most importantly, a zoo. Now, it's not the most interesting or compelling zoo, but I just thought it was funny to have
it's Joe Exotic's zoo
behind bars. And this is also where the infamous rat is. That looks like him. Filson the rat. And what was funny, like this little Easter egg here, it's just a modified rat. It's got the ability evasion 100%. So you can't attack it directly. And he drops a talisman of evasion, which I thought was pretty funny. So now you know, in the world of Lordaeron, rats have natural evasion, and if they happen to get their hands on a talisman of evasion, they will have 100% evasion. That is now lore that you have to keep in your head, because it's fact. I even did like
I've seen Ratatouille before. Rats are quite fast, quite nimble.
Yeah, I loved waterfalls.
Hard to catch.
A central point, which never got used as a central point, because basically you would destroy all this and then you would go down here and destroy all this. I don't know. Some people might have explored more. I don't really have a good sense of how people played this map, to be honest with you. I think this is one of my early iterations in level
I think the
design,
top section I
where
pretty much never
level
looked at
flow-
on this map.
I let the level flow get away from me.
It's
All
always
these
the
areas are
midpoint
connected
on
through this
bottom,
central point.
midpoint and bottom right.
Find all these different things, so I think it still worked. It's still a good map. It's just not non-optimal. Like what's this? What is this? It's just an empty grain boxes around a water well, implying that it was poisoned. Like, this is so far off to the side. What's even the point? I don't know. It's desperation houses in case Mal'Ganis goes over there. Did I answer the question? Yeah. I was told almost nothing. What are your thoughts on the balance of racial units? Do you think any particular race is imbalanced?
Yes. Night Elf.
So,
And
orcs.
Undead. What?
So here's the thing.
Yeah,
In a
orcs are still
game
OP.
where
The only one that isn't OP
a
is
unit
human.
deals full damage no matter how much damage it has taken. The unit that survives the longest is dealing more of its damage the entire time. And that's just sort of a fundamental part of the game. So if a unit can be killed easily, like in say 1 or 2 shots, it's not dealing its damage anymore, so it's gone. And so any race that has more hit points as sort of like a base element of that, it's more difficult to balance just because it's easier to keep something with that many hit points alive. And, you know, when it gets healed, it benefits more from heals and everything like that. So I'm not saying that it's totally imbalanced. Certainly there were measures taken to keep them in balance, but I just think orcs have a natural advantage in a game like this because they naturally stay alive longer and thus deal their damage longer. And in a game where experience matters so much from other heroes killing your units, being able to keep your units alive just because they have so much more hit points means that you're denying experience that as well. So it's just there's multiple advantages that the orcs have just based on their natural stats.
Yep. Nerf
That might
Feral
be a
Spirit.
controversial take, but that's my personal opinion on it. When you placed Easter eggs in the game, were they placed on a whim or planned out when you drafted out the mission? 90%, maybe 98% of all the Easter eggs in the game are 100% on a whim. Yeah, it's basically like, oh, I've got a little extra space over here. It'd be cool if there was an Easter egg here. Or in some cases, I had like large paths of open space because my level design was kind of terrible. And I'm like, I need to fill this in with something. So I came up with some sort of gimmick or like a new race to meet or a Pandaren relaxation pool. Though that has a longer story, which we'll get to in a bit. The only planned Easter egg was for the Frozen Throne and the Dungeons of Dalaran. We definitely planned to have the tower defense mission, and that was an Easter egg. So that was the only planned
That's the best Easter egg.
in all of Reign of Chaos and the Frozen Throne, in terms of like
That Blood Elf
it was
campaign's so
something we knew
good.
was going to go into the game. Every other Easter egg in the game is the personal whim of whatever level designer was making that mission. So here is the only planned Easter egg in all of Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 The Frozen Throne. The Rgb Sheep. Or actually it's red, yellow, blue.
I never thought about it that way.
That doesn't look green. That should have been green. Oh well. This is the puzzle you have to figure out in order to get to the tower defense map. Some of this was almost cut because it was a little too off the wall for certain individuals, but I'm glad that we kept it in as it is. And this is one of my more elaborate levels, as you might be able to tell from the triggers. I literally named the trigger and the folder it's in Balram EU, which is the solution to the puzzle. Spoilers. So each one individually plays its sound.
He's ruined my
and
campaign
over
experience
here.
now.
Okay, this is a complicated trigger. This is when I was getting fancy. Oh, look at this. There's a Easter egg that was disabled involving Timmy. I don't remember this. There's supposed to be a small Timmy that followed you around. This I never got working. I vaguely remember it. Do you agree that Warcraft 3 is a good game because everyone on the dev team knew what would be coming next? What would be coming next?
The
Do you
Wild
think
of
that developing
Warcraft.
the game by looking at the bigger picture in terms of lore, characters, locations, items, etc. helped make it the masterpiece as we know it today, not reforged? So, no.
Hell no, man.
Not at all.
That's rude.
Warcraft 3 was a good game because we wanted to make it a good game and we worked very hard to make it a good game. All of the lore and everything, the characters, the locations, those were all strictly for Warcraft 3. World of Warcraft's lore was not set. It was a game in production. Metzen wasn't even working on it really yet. At the time of Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, and
It's
the
actually
Frozen
quite
Throne's
interesting.
production cycle.
Just gather the forts there
Items, etc.
again.
helped make it. the masterpiece as we know it today, not reforged. So, no, not at all. Warcraft 3 was a good game because we wanted to make it a good game, and we worked very hard to make it a good game. All of the lore and everything, the characters, the locations, those are all strictly for Warcraft 3. World of Warcraft's lore was not set. It was a game in production. Metzen wasn't even working on it really yet at the time of Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, and the Frozen Thrones production cycle. So World of Warcraft, or anything that came after Warcraft 3, literally they had nothing to do with what we did on Warcraft 3. We did.
I always thought that Warcraft 3 got a lot more models and skins and characters in general because it was like a part testing bed for like World of Warcraft. So we kind of got extra content in that sense because it was partly leaning towards what they can do with the next game.
Try like, oh wow, because WoW is going to exist, we're going to make Warcraft 3 even better. And just no, of course not. No, we wanted to make Warcraft 3 a good game because we wanted to make a good game. Every single one of us wanted to make a good game, and so we put our hearts and souls into it. And you know, it is what it is, whether you love it or hate it. What are your thoughts about the world editor and the custom-made maps in general? I have many thoughts, many thoughts. In terms of the custom maps that people make, I mean, a lot of them are, you know, wacky. But Dota exists because we made a robust world editor for Warcraft 3, and the entire intent of that was to make sure that the players at home could make something exactly like Warcraft 3, because we wanted to encourage the next generation of developers by providing a tool that allowed you to do exactly what we did. Like literally, it's one-to-one what we had, minus some features because the world editor was in progress while we were making Reign of Chaos. We wanted to make sure that that was A, easy to use, and B, something that you guys got and could do whatever you wanted with. And I think we were largely successful in that, given that we spawned entire genres. Did you and the other developers expect the modding community of Warcraft 3 to be so big? No. Was the world editor designed with that flexibility in mind? The world editor was designed to be a friendly as possible end user experience for anyone who wanted to make a map like we did, or to make their own campaign, or to...
I will still never understand variables.
That was the whole point of the world editor, and we were very committed to that.
Arrays.
We had no expectations of the modding community. Honestly, we thought it would be a lot of like garbage maps, and you know, for the large part, there's a lot of garbage maps. You know what I mean? Like rape defense. Like who did that? Like, I hope it was like a kid who just didn't understand what he was doing.
I haven't played that one.
Why would you do that? We didn't expect the community that was built from...
Strangely, that one hasn't been requested.
We were happy that it happened, and it was our intent that anyone would be able to become a level designer like us, and so I'm glad that a lot of people did. That's maybe a crowning achievement in my career, that I was part of that. What is your opinion about trying to remake or enhance current Warcraft 3 campaigns by fans? So to take our current campaigns and to remake them and enhance them? Great, do it. I love it. Fix my maps. There's some funky triggers that probably could be redone. Like my trigger logic is not always the best, but it helps me think logically, which is great. We absolutely love it when people take what we worked on and build on it. That's kind of what we wanted, though. I
have played an enhanced
CD space concerns.
Scourge of Lordaeron, I think, campaign. It was the human campaign enhanced.
Some sort of MPQ, which was not the best. I think it would have been better if they'd been just available to mess with. But oh well. On the other hand, maybe we locked them because, you know, the content of the triggers in the world editor were not filtered. So if we put cuss words and stuff in there, that would be exposed by people opening them in the world editor. Maybe that was part of the concern. But either way, I wish we had just simply made it more transparent and allowed people to edit those maps from the very start and like see how the Culling of Stratholme was made, and maybe someone gets interested in coding because they see that, you know, Mike Morheim did some code with the triggers. I think that would have been great. What took more time, programming the world editor or developing the campaigns with it? The campaigns. The campaigns took more time. So the map editor was designed by, or programmed by, and partially designed by Brett Wood, who was an actual rocket scientist. And
yeah, I'd say you have to be to create something like that.
Wanted to, you know, have a functional world editor that they understood how to use. I think Mike Heiberg was primarily leading that design. World editor was mostly done long before we shipped, and then there was just like bug fixing and stuff that would come up periodically. So yeah, campaigns, they took the longest. Are there any hard-coded Easter eggs in the game's maps? For example, ones that can't be found in the game, just in the maps files. In terms of like Easter eggs hidden in the game's maps that are not in the game, like you can't find them by playing, yeah, there's like tons, but most of them are disabled, and you'd have to open up the world editor to find them. I showed one earlier that concerned the sheep following a little Timmy around. So it was after you unlocked the Easter egg to get the tower defense level, I was going to have the 3 sheep unlock from their cages and follow you around, but I couldn't get them to follow the player around, so I tried to create an invisible unit called that I named Little Timmy that would have been invisible, that they would follow around, and it didn't work out. There was too many sharp corners and stuff, and the sheep would get caught on stuff. It just never worked.
It's funny because I can imagine like it might take like, let's just say it takes like 4 or 5 days or whatever to create the map, but then for this one tiny trigger that he's trying to get to work, he might spend like another 4 to 5 days on. Because I know when I've been editing videos and sort of like creating edited content like that, you can sometimes like blast through, 4 or 5 minutes of it, and then you get stuck on like this 10-second segment that takes like days.
So that's one, for example.
Just to get it to
I
work.
only know that one because I just looked through the editor and saw that earlier. There's hard-coded trigger map stuff that is not in the final game, like you can't find it.
Making the snake raining impression. Yeah, that snake was really good. All right, so that's on Abelhawk's channel. Obviously check that out, and we're going to go watch the other part 4. That'll be on DesignerDave's channel, which you should obviously check out as well.
Which dev came up with the first Pandaren Easter egg? That would be me. So the reason that I put the Pandaren relaxation pool in Reign of Chaos is because Sam Didier had made this cool piece of art, and we put it into the game, and then there was no use for it. So I made a use for it. I was like, we'll have a Pandaren relaxation pool, and I'll put it over here in the corner of Undead 2. And
that's
poof,
great
that
style.
was our first Pandaren Easter egg. Then you might be familiar with this guy over here, the largest panda ever. Tim put this in, maybe inspired by the Pandaren Easter egg. So we just had a thing for pandas after that. And I believe there's one more, but I can't think of what it is. But
I think the other panda is the level where Arthas is burning the ships, and it's sort of like you go up and then you go like back down, and then there's a little sort of tree or something you can destroy, and sort of like in the little section there's a panda inside of that point.
did the Tim's maps were crazy. Holy moly. I actually did one scene on this map, and I believe it's the giant panda one.
I'm going to watch the whole thing overclocked.
Oh, that's disabled. Here's another one. There were some blue flame animations that didn't work out. I don't know if that's an Easter egg though on this. So if I can find it, Panda cinematic. Dave, come on. Set panda victim. Set panda victim equal entering unit. Add panda cinematic queue. All right. Oh, so there's one unit that I set as the victim, so that gets moved to the front and shown so he can see the panda coming at him. And it could be any unit. So
I think it's a penguin or something.
Could theoretically be different every time.
Well, there's a giant penguin at some point, isn't there?
Depending on who triggers it. Oh, geez. I went elaborate. So for each potential unit, they play a different sound. It could be Furion, it could be Tyrande, it could be a Druid, an Archer, a Hunter, or a Dryad. I really went all out on this. I must have been excited about the idea. So there you go. If you ever play Night Elf 05 and you come around this corner, know that whichever unit triggers this region will be the victim unit and will have a little sound that they play at the end. So yeah, it was me who came up with the first Pandaren Easter egg, and that tradition was carried by Tim, and I think maybe one other, but I'm not sure how many Panda Easter eggs there are in total. Were you bugged when the names of models had to be changed due to litigation and copyright
Gyrocopter.
issues? No, didn't bother me at all. There's just this thing,
Region.
when copyright issues come up, you got to be very careful. you don't want Wizards of the Coast or the Tolkien estate suing you for using the same names as stuff that they have in their lore. So it didn't bother me at all. I thought it was cool that it sort of made things more unique for the Warcraft franchise. There's not really anything that we could consider like standard lore at that time. Like, I'm not sure what
The
Tolkien
gyrocopter
estate has
became the
done
flying
with
machine.
their stuff yet, but a lot of Tolkien stuff was based off of fairy tales and things like that. So only a certain amount of that can be copyrighted anyways. But it didn't bother me. It was just, for me, I consider it creating new stuff that's specific to our game.
Because of what he's
I thought
explaining in
was
Skytext.
Now, here's a
It's
question I didn't
copyright
like,
issues.
but I put it on here. I have a little rant for you. Who was the cutest dev on the dev team, and what is her phone number? So there's two things I need to address here.
Is that Blizzard
Number one
asking?
is the general attitude. Just because a woman is working on a game doesn't mean that she wants to date you. I'm not going to give you anyone's phone number regardless of the
How did that
situation
question
in
get
this
through?
regard. No one would ask that of me. Like, oh, Dave was handsome and he worked on Warcraft 3. I want his phone number. Actually, there might be a couple people who are like that, but no one has ever asked me this sort of thing before. So I just want to say that it's difficult enough being a game developer, but to add on top of that this sort of sexualization or dateability thing for
That was
women,
Dark Mega's question.
just makes it so much harder for them.
Yeah. Just cut off all ties with Dark Mega. He's a dangerous one. He's a dangerous individual.
And here's the second part of this rant. A fun fact for you. There were literally 0 women on the game development team on Team
That's
1,
true, Stylo.
except there was 1 woman in the audio department, which was a separate department downstairs.
I interrupted.
In terms of there's no fun fact for you. There were literally 0 women on the game development team on Team 1, except there was 1 woman in the audio department, which was a separate department downstairs. In terms of there's no women on the level design team, game design, there was no artist, no female artist, literally no women on the Warcraft 3 team at all, except for in HR and the 1 woman in the audio department, who I shall not name because of stuff like this. So I just want to sort of expose that attitude as something that should be avoided. Don't sexualize developers, even if it's being done to men. That leads down a dark path too, as the Cosby Suite allegations might have shown. So I just wanted a moment of seriousness there.
It's an
as we
unfortunate
begin
picture.
the political questions that I've picked out for the second half of this. In your opinion, what was unique to Blizzard that allowed it to produce major success after major success from 1995 to 2005? It was that Blizzard was founded on the principles of we
Having
all
a
love
heart and
games,
soul.
we want to hire people who love games, and we want to make great games. That's it. One of the first questions I was asked in the interview was basically what games do you like? What do you like to play? Everyone's asked that. Everyone from programming to reception were asked, what games do you like to play? And if you weren't really a gamer, then you didn't have a place at Blizzard. That was just a fact, because the whole principle of what Blizzard was founded on was we want people who love games. I don't know that they've maintained that. I'm suspicious that things have changed since I left, but I can't speak
I
to
don't know
that.
why he would get that idea.
Did Mike, Pat, and Jeff leaving to form ArenaNet have a big impact direction on the War 3 project? Yeah, it resolved the conflict between Mike O'Brien and Rob Pardo. Rob Pardo wanted a more RTS-focused game. Mike O'Brien wanted a more RPG-focused game. And Mike leaving to found ArenaNet and to make Guild Wars 1 and 2, which are amazing games that you should play. By the way, Guild Wars 2 has one of my favorite Easter eggs in games of all time, but I'll talk about that another time. It did have a huge impact on how War 3 ended up being, which is to say that it shifted more towards the RTS aspects. Are you still working for Blizzard? No, I'm not working for Blizzard. I'm not. Why did you leave Blizzard? So this is a hard one to answer. The diplomatic thing to say would be that I got tired of the Warcraft franchise and left, but while that might be true, in some regards, the truth is that I was ousted from Blizzard by Rob Pardo and Jeffrey Kaplan. Basically, I was working on World of Warcraft on the quest design, And Jeffrey Kaplan would complain to Rob Pardo saying that I wasn't meeting some standard or something like that, which was obviously bullshit. So then Rob Pardo would come to me and say, hey, I heard that you're not, doing your work. And then I would go back to Jeffrey Kaplan and go, hey, what's wrong? What are you expecting? What are your expectations? What do I need to do? And then he would lie and say, oh, I love everything you're doing. It's great to have a good writer on the team. I really like what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And so it was just this endless loop of bullshit.
Damn, that's awkward.
But on top of that, there was an incident with me and Pardo that I don't...
Yeah, what the fuck's Jeff thinking, eh? What the fuck's he thinking? I assume there was some sort of dispute where they might have had a meeting and Dave took the last donut or something, and Jeff never, ever forgot. And he never forgave, would be my assumption.
Really like talking about, though I've talked about it a bit several times now. But basically, he harassed me in a very uncomfortable way at the Blizzard 10-year anniversary party. And as a result of that, he started collecting negative information about me from various people at the studio.
Jesus.
And there was like a come to Jesus kind of thing where he listed all the negative things that I'd ever done at the company. And they basically said, this is your chance to, turn this around, if you fix these things, then, there's not a problem. So what I did was I talked to every person that I had ever wronged there, and I sort of tried to resolve my issues with them. And these were pretty minor things, honestly. Like, in retrospect, looking back at my career, these were like just minor disputes about like how a sound should be implemented and whatever. They were.
I've worked mostly in warehouses and sort of like in the back. I have worked in an office once, and one of the things I hated the most about office was office politics. There's so many petty people that live to be in that office. Like, that is their life. And they have this sort of almost snipey negative aura about them where they're just looking for an opportunity to sort of like dob you in or something like that. I loved working in a warehouse so much more than working in an office. Like, it was night and day difference for me. That could be personally my choice because I just prefer physical work and sort of like getting down and doing the work itself and keeping myself busy rather than sitting in an office waiting for paperwork to be available for me to do, because there's a lot of boring stuff in office. Whereas I felt like warehouse, it's like, here's your task, it's simple, crack on, and then you just crack on with it and then go home. But yeah, the office, I never really liked the office. It's not for me.
Not a big deal. So they actually were very easy to resolve. And it became apparent to me that the reason that this list had been made was to create a list of things in order to justify me being fired. And ultimately, Pardo did get me fired. And it didn't matter what I did after that point. Even though I made the effort and improved and talked to everyone and sort of had a better understanding of how the things that I tell people can impact them, which helps me. It helped me in my career later, and certainly made me a better person to work with. I'll say that. So in that regard, I guess I have Blizzard to thank for that. But at the time, it was a traumatizing incident, and being fired from Blizzard was the worst thing that had ever happened to me at that point in my life, because Blizzard was my life. It had been the last 5 years of my life. Working on Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne, starting in QA. This was my second job at all. My first job in the game industry. Starting in QA, working my way all the way up to campaign design and working on Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne. And
Man, that sucks.
As a quest designer on World of Warcraft.
It just seems so unnecessary as well. Like, it's just unfortunate. You just sort of like rub the wrong person, the wrong way or whatever. And then that's it. They've got it in for you. Whether you did it like intentionally or whatever, like, that's it. That person's now got it in for you, and they're just going to make your life worse as a consequence. It sucks. As for you, Kekfit, yes, that's because you're corrupt.
Which I was pretty happy about. It's crushing. It's crushing to be fired from a job like that. But thanks to that, I've had quite an illustrious career thereafter, including working on many really cool franchises like Silent Hill and The Oddworld. Stranger's Wrath was an amazing game. Wasteland 3 was really fun. And I've now built a huge 23-year spanning career with tons of games and having worked on all these different genres and in all these, like from console to mobile to whatever, that wouldn't have happened if I'd stayed at Blizzard. If I'd stayed at Blizzard, I'd have been working on World of Warcraft for another 5 to 10 years, maybe to this very day, who knows. And so I think regardless of how it hurt at the time, I think it taught me a lot of valuable lessons about what I'm looking for in a game studio, the kind of people that I want to work with, and how I should treat other people, and gave me a background that opened a lot of doors for me in the game industry and allowed me to move to much better places. And now I'm basically independent and able to work on multiple things at the same time. And I think that's a good position for me to be in, because I get pretty bored easily with just one thing. So I need to have that variety in my life to keep me moving from project to project. That was an elaborate answer. How did you end up being brought into Warcraft 3 Reforged development? Did you reach out to Blizzard, or did they reach out to you? I was reached out to. A friend who was...
Help! That was the start of their phone call to Dave. Help us!
Blizzard, to this day, sent me an email asking if I would be interested in working on something based on the Warcraft 3 engine. And of course I said yes. Now, this is a long story as well. It took months to get to a final negotiation point just to get a contract. And ultimately, we started on it, and we actually produced documents, and I got my first and last payment from them for that project just before the 800 layoffs. So there was a 500 layoffs earlier, like around 2007, I want to say. And there was, in 2019, was it? I think there was another 800 layoffs by
around
Activision
that,
Blizzard. And after those layoffs, I got ghosted. They stopped talking to me, and I still had one more document that I needed to deliver to sort of fulfill the contract. And so I was waiting. I just left it open. They'd already paid me, so I just left it open, saying if they would come to collect that document, and they never did. And later we find out that they had dramatically slashed the budget for Warcraft 3 Reforged to almost nothing. And now that that's all public information, thanks to Jason Schreier's reporting, I feel much more comfortable being open and honest about
it. Makes you feel
just
sick, doesn't it, really?
They screwed Warcraft 3 Reforged. And it's pretty clear to me that it came from the top. Maybe even Kotick directly. I'm not 100% sure. But it was a monetary thing. They screwed the game that we all wanted to see for money, because they thought there was no money in this. And they proved themselves right, because they effed the product and now no one wants it. So, sad. When you were working on Reforged, apparently you were brought in later in development.
That does make you... I do feel a little bit sick in the stomach because of that. It's like that kind of mentality. It's like, how much money could you have made, though, if you actually just put money into the game? Like, it still seems to boggle my mind when they do that. It's like, is it really worth saving an extra £200,000 or whatever the hell it equates to? Or do you want to have like some extra quality to your name, and therefore that's worth money in itself, having a good product that isn't bringing down the name of the company? Like, surely that's worth the investment alone, let alone actually doing Warcraft 3 justice, because it was one of the best games and your main game that you ever created to get you out there in the first place. Like, it's shocking. Absolutely shocking how disgusting people are. Obviously, it's more the people at the top, and it's just, how much money do they need? It's just disgusting. It's a mental illness. It has to be a mental illness. Like, I've always been in the mind... Who knows if I ever would get corrupt if I suddenly earned like millions of pounds or something like that, but I doubt it. I'm very much a pretty simple person, so it's just like, just need enough for a house and a car and to live. That's good enough, But it's just like, who are these sickos that are just like tear everything down for the sake of a few extra coins that is like a fraction of what they already have anyway? Crazy.
Was it clear when you arrived that it was already screwed? It wasn't screwed when I started. When I started on Warcraft 3 Reforged, it was going really well. it was actually going to be quite impressive. So I got reached out to. So we've got one original campaign designer plus the two who are already at Blizzard. Maybe they didn't have time for this, and that's why I was summoned. Not sure. But I brought in Tim Campbell as well, who was one of the best campaign designers for Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne. So
There he is.
it would have been amazing if they hadn't cut
Left
the
it out.
budget and basically stopped talking to us. And when I say they ghosted us and they stopped talking to us, I mean they totally ghosted us.
Yep, I believe
Not even
that.
an email saying, oops, sorry, it didn't work out, budget got cut. Nothing. Not a fucking word. And this was from a friend, so it kind of hurt in an extra special way.
Again, that's just so weird. Like, how much does it cost to just have one PR person actually managing? We get absolutely fuck all information at all from Blizzard. Like, absolutely nothing. It's just... It's so sad. Like, it can't take that much effort, can it? You could have the janitor do it, but they won't even probably do that.
But it wasn't screwed when I started. It did not become abundantly clear that Reforged had been hosed until basically it shipped. Because I still had hope that maybe they'd restricted the budget and they were just focusing on the core game and making those cinematics work and stuff. But they didn't even do that. In fact, there was only one campaign designer for all of Reforged.
Ugh.
That's nuts.
That's why we only really got like 4 levels, I think. I counted 3 or 4 levels, like actually felt like they'd been genuinely remade. You know, where you're sort of breaking through Dalaran, that kind of thing, and you getting destroying the boxes, and then there's the golems and stuff like that. There's only like 3 or 4, and then there was these kind of like part changes to some of the levels. Like the start of the Blood Elf campaign at the bottom right, which was different to how it used to be. They did like little edits to some of the current levels, but otherwise you really only got like, I think 4 genuine new levels.
We're talking about a campaign that took like 9 people 2 years to create for just Reign of Chaos, and they're gonna redo all those maps with new cinematics and everything with one guy? Impossible. So that's just how badly the budget got.
I feel so bad for the classic games team, you know? Like, you imagine the amount of pressure like Pete Steelwell was under and all of that. It's just absolutely shocking. Like, they've got to create all of that, and they know they're not going to do it, and the people at the top aren't listening. But the only communication they probably got from the people at the top is that date that they want the game to come out. They won't talk to them otherwise. So the only information you've got to go off is this date that you've got to bring this game out that you can't possibly finish in time for that date. That's a stressful position.
Posed. But you know what? That's because Blizzard is dead, and now it's just Activision's sock puppet. It was said you were briefly brought on. What made you leave and not stay longer on the project? They ghosted me, so I've already answered that. What do you think the future holds for Blizzard? Is its ship sinking, or has the sun not yet set on the Blizzard Empire? Well, Blizzard is dead. It is a corpse. It is a corpse being puppeteered by Activision and Bobby Kotick. And it's going to be used as basically a factory to put the Blizzard stamp on things and stoke nostalgia to get sales. And that's it.
I think the only place they really go after Diablo 4 is just mobile games. That's what I think. They use that Blizzard name, create mobile games using the Blizzard IP, StarCraft, Diablo, Warcraft, and I think that's all you're going to get really from Blizzard from now. It's just there to just pump out money at this point, in any way, shape, or form they can use that name for.
That's it. So stop holding out hope that Blizzard is going to come back. Everyone who founded Blizzard, all the principles that Blizzard was founded on, they're gone or they're dead. No one died. Sorry, the principles are dead. No one died. Principles that Blizzard was founded upon are dead. They've been desecrated and are destroyed. So let Blizzard go. That's my main message, is let Blizzard go. Appreciate what was created back when it was done, and stop holding out hope that it's going to come back.
I think, yeah, the only thing we really need from Blizzard is honestly just to give us the source code or whatever for Warcraft 3 so we can actually fix the fucking game for them. Because obviously they don't deserve it. They don't want it. Like, they don't even put it on the Black Friday. They've had multiple sales, and Warcraft 3 has never been a part of it. They obviously want nothing to do with it. So just get rid of it. Just give it to us. Give it to people that are actually going to look after it.
It's not. Can crunch time be avoided completely, or regardless of the software development cycle used, game development will have at least some overtime work? Crunch time can be avoided completely. 100%. I've worked at studios where they didn't have any crunch time, where it was like mandatory that people go home at a certain hour. This is mostly in Europe, but it depends on the studio. What crunch time is indicative of is poor planning. If your game has crunch time all the time, you need a better producer. You need a better project manager. They're effing up. That is quite frankly the job of the producers and the
I feel like most mainstream game companies probably always have crunch time now, don't they?
Running into overtime all the time, or there's like crunch on every project towards the end. I know it's avoidable. I've seen it done, and all it really requires is better planning. And I think that's something that plagued the industry early on, but is no longer necessary in order to function. So when I hear about like BioWare's Magic Time and that kind of garbage, they just have someone in charge who's bad at planning, and they need to fix that. Pure and simple. If you could give prospective game designers one tip, what would you say to them? You know, I made this whole YouTube channel to give tips to game designers on how they could improve.
There you
if
go.
you haven't seen my Game Design 101 video, please go check it out. It's a very easy to understand introduction to game design and how it works. And
I'll just highlight this so people can check it out if they want to have a look. Give you an idea. I'll only gloss over it just for the moment.
Rings and transferring it into different RPGs here, but basically purchasing a really good way to game 3 pages.
Learn to kill your babies. That could be taken out of context.
what the main goals are and some terminology that will help you when discussing game design with other people. I'm quite proud of that series. I started developing it when I was in China, and I had to mentor new game designers in China. China doesn't really have game design as a discipline. They basically have a dictator who tells the programmers what to do.
The
And
CCP.
It's not really a good system. So I'm hoping to
Plus
help
15 credits.
internationally develop better game designers, and I'm hoping that that will sort of be a legacy that I can leave behind, is to give the next generation a leg up on game design, because there's no real game design schools. There are schools that claim to have game design degrees, but they tend to be focused on programming, and I think game design as a discipline is a little bit further behind. And it's
I mean, I'm just gonna. My brain just sort of goes off a little bit, just very briefly. I'm not gonna even watch that much. It's just the Chinese bit. The Chinese bit during this just cracked me out. I gotta
Better.
find.
The main comparison would be Age of Empires. Villager announced
Bear with me.
changes and up. I was there with my parts. Quick play, which consists of a variety of online matches, both PvP. Fuck, they want to do. Of course,
Where is this Chinese bit?
Age of Empires Civilization.
It's coming.
Into the group. And voices are for each dedicated style. What's going on?
Oh, here we are.
Style. So how about you see them for yourself when you play? Whoa! What's
I'm
going
getting
on?
so distracted.
同志们，中国不传统的荣耀，欢迎来到帝国时代4中最好的文明，遵循我们国家机制的指导方针，您的社会信用将立即飙升。您的国家可能只有一个
That voiceover.
我们允许您拥有2个地标，而不是一个讨厌的麦田被大米取代，以获得更强壮的骨骼和更努力的工人。在英语为我们做鸦片之前，尽早接触化学来生产鸦片。中共工人建楼速度快100%，确保您派遣
I like that bit
美国工人监
where he
视
just
我
follows
们
this
安
guy.
放在 账户持有人计算机上的比特币矿工，对我们最高的大规模监视系统抱有希望，因为当他不监视您时，味道记住1989年中心什么没发生。
The gameplay is just improved to much smoother.
Slightly off the wall, that. Alright, sorry for that distraction. I'll bring us back to this.
also one of those disciplines, much like writing, where everyone thinks they can do it because they have ideas. But having ideas and doing good game design or doing creative writing are not the same thing. The idea is not the point, the execution is. And game design is about the execution of those ideas. So my one amazing tip to improve your game design, it's to play games and understand why you like them or why you don't like them. in my Game Design 101 series, this is one of my major tips. Basically, people play games all the time and they go, yeah, I really like that game. But have you ever really thought about why and really analyzed what made that game fun for you? And the thing is, what you'll discover is that the things that make games fun for you are not necessarily what makes games fun in general. And so you have to be able to discern the difference between why you like a game and why someone else may like a game, or why you hate a game and someone else may like that same game. Once you
Need a compromise.
have a deep understanding of that, the game design comes very easily, and you start making better and better decisions. So that's my one tip. Please check out my game design series if you're interested in learning more about game design. I hope you've enjoyed this foray into this Warcraft Ask Me Anything. I'm hoping to continue it even further, though it's really hard to find time. But I'm doing the best that I can, and hopefully this all comes together and we can do another 2 soon. I guess we'll find out.
Very good. Obviously, go support the channels, Abelhawk and DesignerDave. I think they deserve it. And if we're lucky, we might get some more. But yeah, very sad to hear that, you know, I didn't realize it was that rough for him, you know. Like, the way they treated him, essentially, after the hard work he did on Warcraft 3. But, geez. Yeah, it's, I mean, it's good that he got out, you know. Maybe got out a bit earlier than he probably would have liked, but he still got out, you know, before Blizzard really went and shit the bed, so to speak. But, yeah, he still got to do things. That's just nice. And, you know. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks. There's not much else to say about it. But, yeah, thank you for the video. I appreciate it.